The playoffs are almost here, and the Blackhawks are not in it, unsurprisingly.
Oh, man.
If only they were in the Pacific Division, which is not
They'd still
good.
be not in the playoffs.
They'd still be not in the
but
playoffs,
closer.
but they'd be closer. Absolutely. The Pacific Division this year, it's been joked
fight.
about forever. Yeah, Connor McDavid called it a pillow fight, and that's pretty accurate, which has me thinking, and I think a lot of people have been thinking about this for years. Understood where the NHL was when they switched the playoff format to the wild card. They wanted to grow some regional rivalries with teams that are more familiar in the division, guaranteeing matchups against each other. You want to make sure that a really good team isn't left out simply because of the 1-8 game. I don't think it's accomplished what it has set out to accomplish.
The biggest gripe that has just been constant, and it happens every year, is that you're running into first and second round games or matchups that should be, if it's a lot of times a first round matchup is like, man, one of these teams could have won the whole thing, and they're out. And then a second round matchups, how many years seemingly in a row did Pittsburgh and Washington always meet? And it was just like, those were the best two teams in the East.
Yeah.
And one of them's out in the second round. And we're going to run into a situation this year where it's likely like Dallas and Colorado could potentially meet in the second round. And it's just like, well, those are the two best teams of the Western Conference, and one of them's not going to be in the final.
And look, you've got Dallas and Minnesota. If it started, we're going on, Thursday night where the standings are at. You got Dallas and Minnesota in the first round.
Right.
So one of the three best teams in the West is gone right away. You've got Tampa and Montreal in the East, two teams that could certainly make a run. Maybe Montreal's a little bit further down in that Stanley Cup favorite list, but it wouldn't be the most shocking thing to see them jump up. But it just feels like, you know what? Appreciated what you were trying to do. See it, let's give it a few years to see if it works. I really don't feel like around the league that existing rivalries have gotten more intense or that new ones have been born. And I think what was great about the 1-8 format that they'd used forever is that it was really good at developing non-traditional rivalries.
Right.
The Hawks and Canucks are nowhere near each other. That was the best rivalry in hockey for a long time.
Yeah.
For the 3-4 years, it was those two.
And they met up every year, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they made the change, like, I understood what they were going for, and especially like trying to market the league, and you marketed the rivalries, and the original six was like they went hard on that to push the league and the sport. But I think it's changed now. It's changed now to where teams are not necessarily the push; it's the players, and I think the rivalries are born from the highest intensity situations, and that's the playoffs. It doesn't matter if it's Chicago and St. Louis or something like that. Like if it's a play or it's randomly Edmonton and Anaheim or something. If it's the playoffs, it's going to be intense. It doesn't need to have to be a set in stone. This is already a rivalry. They meet 6 times a year, and now it's the playoffs. And now, because
it's already established.
It's already established. You're like, these teams are going to face off in a best of 7, and it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's basically murder is allowed, and it's going to be the most intense hockey you've seen.
Let's not change that.
And it doesn't matter if it's a already standing rivalry or not. It's like the intensity is going to be there. So I think if you were able to go back to a different setup, if it was back to the 1-8 in the conference, you would still accomplish matching up teams that are going to, and even still, like, you would still match up teams that could be rivalries when you wanted to see them in the playoffs,
100%.
even if it is 1-8 and you're taking out the divisional.
So
factor.
Let's look at it again. This is using Thursday night standings. Currently, Carolina would face Columbus.
Heated rivalry.
Yeah, right. Pittsburgh and the Islanders. Buffalo, Boston, Tampa, Montreal. There's your East matchups. That if playoffs started today, that's what it would be. Your West is Colorado, LA, Dallas, Minnesota, Anaheim, Utah, Edmonton, Vegas.
Dallas, Minnesota. I mean, it's a great series.
Yeah.
But it's like that could be the West final.
It could and maybe should be.
Yeah.
If not, if somehow Colorado falls off. Now, if you switch to the 1 through 8, tell me that this doesn't feel more satisfying as a hockey fan, as a hockey consumer. Carolina, Columbus, Buffalo, New York Islanders, Lightning, Penguins, Canadiens, Bruins.
Oh, there you go.
That feels right. And you still
Canadiens,
feel like
Bruins, that's a rivalry.
Yeah. And like, could Columbus beat Carolina? Maybe. But I think the other thing too is you earn the best record in the Eastern Conference. You should have the easiest matchup automatically. And the wild card too doesn't necessarily guarantee that that is the worst playoff team. That's what I don't love about it. So Western Conference would be Colorado, LA, Dallas, Vegas, Minnesota, Utah, Anaheim, Edmonton. Those feel like the favorites have earned their favorite spots.
That's what it should.
And it should be.
That's what it feels like it should be. Yes.
That feels fair. And it also doesn't feel like none of those lower seeds have a chance, but you don't feel like you're going to lose one of the best teams in the league right off the hop. And you are guaranteed in the current format that either the Wild or Stars are going away in the first round.
Right.
And I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
No, they could lose the Wild could end up losing. They could still
lose their
Utah.
First round matchups. Right.
Sure. But you're asking them to potentially, in the Wild in the first round, have to beat the co-favorites for the West.
Right.
That's tough.
It doesn't. I'm not a big fan of that because you want your best teams to get the furthest because that's what everyone wants to see.
Yeah.
And there have been some really good teams that have gone on runs as 8 seeds, and maybe are they traditional 8 seeds? No, but like they just end up in the wild card. But yeah, I mean, you want to give your best teams the advantage because that's what they earn.
Right. That's right.
So yeah, if you were to tell Minnesota, like you don't get home ice and you're facing, an in division like cup favorite.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rough draw.
That's really tough.
Yeah.
All right. And just for fun, we ran it. If they went 1 through 16, it ignored conferences.
Take the conferences out of it.
So you'd have Colorado, Washington, Carolina, Philly, Buffalo, Detroit, Dallas, Ottawa, Tampa, Anaheim, Montreal, Columbus, Minnesota, and the Islanders, Boston, and Pittsburgh. Of the 16, 4 Western Conference teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That solves your travel problems.
Sure. Yeah. It stays an East Coast favorable setup there. But I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at the wild card race, and almost every team in the wild card race would lead the Pacific Division. Yep. Or, it's just silly. And if you were to go through the 1 through 16, like all those teams, you'd say like, yeah, like even though right now they're not playoff teams, those teams are better than the wild card teams in the West, like without a question. So if you were to go through this format, you say, well, yeah, you took the best teams possible. And I think travel aside, that sets up for finding out who the best teams in the league are. Like the fact that teams like Detroit and Ottawa, who have had good seasons, potentially could miss the playoffs. Like for the league, that stinks because you're leaving out really good teams. You're leaving out really good players. Again, like I think the 1 through 16, I don't think it works because then
they'll never do it.
You'd take away divisions and conferences.
Right.
You would just say everyone plays everybody twice, and then teams regionally you play more often. But you mentioned the first round of Anaheim Tampa would be quite the hellish travel for that series.
That would suck. That would definitely suck for them. Yes,
that's insane.
Yes, that would be rough. But that's really the only one though.
Colorado,
where travel
Washington would be rough too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They'll never do that, but appreciate the effort that the NHL made in trying to try something different, trying to ramp up some rivalries. It hasn't worked. Let's go back to 1 versus 8. It just feels a lot more satisfying.
You know what we need to go back to? The play-in round.
Oh,
the bubble playoff format. That way the Hawks can get in.
They can win a playoff series. All right. Mini pods on CHGO are brought to you by our friends at Sunnyside. Head to their website for only the best under the sun, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify.